Okay, so what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today, Darren?
We're talking about menu planning.
Excellent. We'll find out how to make a menu. Do you ever wonder where your food comes from? That's what got us started on this adventure.
In each episode, we ask experts to weigh in on the food topics that matter to you, from growers to producers to chefs.
And I challenge John, Darren, and you to learn more about your food and the stories behind it. From our hub on Vancouver Island in the beautiful Comox Valley, join us as we explore our edible valley. Okay, well, a very, very good day. This is the Edible Valley podcast. My name is William. I'm the producer.
I'm Chef Jonathan Fraser.
And I am Darren, the co-host.
I think that's what you are. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Brilliant. Let's do it. So today we are talking about planning a menu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a great subject to get into. I mean, especially after our last episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of look back and see we got into the grocery shopping and all the wonderful things that we can do in a grocery store.
Yeah.
What kind of things did we cover last week? Let's go over that quickly.
Grocery shopping, informed grocery shopping, planned grocery shopping. So this sort of comes out of that. It's a bit of an extension to say, instead of us saying, you should do this, let's give you some tools to do this.
Exactly. And I think we decided that like the tricks were in the grocery store, stick to the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch the aisles, go in with a plan,
Yeah.
and make sure you're not hungry.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking that today when I was going through the grocery store, that really along the middle aisles, there are some aisles where there's absolutely nothing that's not processed.
Right.
Yeah.
And around the outside, it's very, very interesting. And I think in terms of why you would plan a menu, if your objective, and we're going along the assumption that you want to be healthy and in control of your eating, whatever you're doing here, that basically the old adage, failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah.
So you absolutely need to plan. Now, we spoke last week about all the tricks that the grocery stores use to get you to come off that plan, to get you to do what they want to do.
Right.
And you need to have a plan if you are to stand any chance of coming out there with your objectives being fulfilled, be it nutrition, be it protein, because you're working out, you mustn't let them hijack you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you're in their space, so they can. So I would say just a few things to kind of get things rolling here.
Sure.
That a really, really good idea is to only go shopping once a week and to plan. Now, obviously, you're trading in maybe freshness because you might want to pick up fresh vegetables regularly, but whenever you walk into that $1 million store, $10 million store, the cards are stacked against you. You are theirs. And so the first thing you can do is go in there less, because they can't get you when you're at home. The second thing is, I think we said last week, we touched on it, go in with a list and do not deviate with that list. If you see something that you think, I might like it, fine. Note that in your mind, note it on a pad, and decide with a sober mind, shall I add that onto my list next week? Bottom line, it does not go in the trolley, or it does not go into the cart, went a bit British there, if it's not on the list.
Well, and I think that's part of your menu planning. And I think that's what we're going to get to. I was just going to think we should start out by telling people what some of the things to think about on a menu plan, because I was thinking about making sure it includes balance, nutritional quality, variety. Think about colors, textures, flavors, shapes, food sizes, and then think about your own ability of what you can cook.
So, I mean, you're already blowing my mind with that, because I'm no further than going, I need to have a certain amount of ounces of protein a day. But what do you mean, like the colors, the textures? Things like that?
I mean, think about when you're creating something, like we eat with our eyes.
Right.
Like, think about every food photo you see that makes you drool. Or like when you go into a fancy restaurant, they put the food down in front of you and you just like, it's you see it, and then you smell it, and then you taste it. Like,
and generally, if you are looking at professional food photos or professional restaurants, you're either getting a vibrancy of colors, you're getting a lot of colors, or you're going to get a nice contrast, both of which are striking and appealing to your brain that you want to eat that, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're just eating for yourself, do you still try and hit these bases?
I do.
I'm terrible.
I do. I like to see, that's where I like to push things and try things and,
Right.
and see where I can take things if I'm just for me.
Darren,
yeah.
you're a real menu planner.
Yeah, I am. I'm this pretty much stems out of me, right?
Yeah,
This
like
this
that's-
episode
yeah.
comes, I am a big menu planner.
My menu planning comes around a restaurant, right? And
Right.
so I eat at the restaurant a lot of time. And it's not that I'm eating fancy food at the restaurant all day long.
Right.
It's that I'm, we make a staff meal for all the staff. So it's, what am I going to come up with? So maybe we'll make a little pasta or a stir fry, or, we'll do something, make a little pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the little things we do. So my menu planning isn't as detailed because I really only cook maybe 1-2 meals a week at home. So that makes it a little more difficult for me because I like to prep ahead and be ready. And I think that's something we want to approach on menu planning.
For sure. Well, I'm going to pick up the torch here. For menu planning, I have a small catering business. I have kids. I have I have a busy schedule that has to do a lot with food. And so I need just to keep track, just to keep order, just to know what's going on. But at the same time, I have a responsibility to my kids to educate them about food. And so I like to bring them into the kitchen as often as possible. But I know that sometimes I may have overestimated their abilities or their desire or whatever. Like I may make estimations that aren't necessarily properly informed. So I've started doing menu prep, because I wanted to be able to find stuff that they could do, stuff that they felt comfortable with. And now that I also work at night a bit, I want to make sure that they have good food that they can just slap together. I don't want them to just take out a box of Kraft macaroni.
So it did stop recording, which was really annoying because we've just recorded the world's best podcast.
It was
15 minutes.
pretty good. And then Darren was like trying to get sponsors from Kraft.
Yeah, Darren was saying stuff that is genius.
We had
Literally.
So it had to be edited out, of course.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Anyways, we'll pick back up. I had made a point about poor or lack of planning, and John was talking, John had a counterpoint of some good planning.
Well, good planning. I was thinking back to my days on the boat where I did I had to do menu planning, and it was difficult because I was going to see, and I was stashing stuff all over the boat, right? Like we were putting romaine lettuce and wrapping it in paper towel and putting it upside down in the tiller flats, and it would literally start rotting. And so by the end of the trip, we would have romaine heart salad,
Right.
So like, it was really
outer.
fancy. How did you get this? And it's like, well, we just stored food as best we possibly could, But so that made my planning a little more difficult because I had to plan around when things would go off, how it would work around the trip as well. Because one day we're going on a hike for 4 hours that would turn into 6 hours. And then I've got to make 3 meals in 15 minutes for 50
Not only
people.
that, you kind of have to outfit them with some snacking food on the way.
And
that's
you got to
gonna
have
last
that all
trip.
lined up. So what I would do is I'd break down a meal plan, and I'd have breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, and I'd put a dessert in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would just plan out the items that I was going to have for each of those meals, and then have it so that I could switch back and forth. So I always like to start with a really nice meal first off to make people feel at home and comfortable and know that they were going to get some good stuff. And then I would sort of make the menu a little bit more simpler, or do like cook things ahead of time that I would use. Like if I was to cook chicken, if we were to have chicken, I'd roast off a whole bunch of chicken.
Right.
So that it would be ready for the next time, then I could do a roast chicken for dinner that night. And then the next day we'd do a chicken quesadilla, and, on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get to build on that because, you've done so much work for your future self.
Yeah, so it's always being that one step ahead of yourself, and that's the way it would do. And I literally would, and some days it was just working down through the fridge, or the freezer on the boat, right? Like I'd be like, okay, today we're going. What's under the lid today?
Yeah,
even though I've got a menu plan, but I've got it spread out over the week. So,
well, you mentioned a quesadilla, and I just wanted to mention to the listeners that I did write up a bit of a template about how I approach a menu plan and a grocery list. And then I also gave an example, and that's something I quite often do. You'll see throughout there is that I repurpose leftovers rather than make the same meal over again or just reheat something from past. I take components and I make it into a quesadilla, or I make it into a salad, or I turn that into the breakfast hash, or it becomes part of the soup. So if you'll be able to see my sort of method of madness if you take a look there and maybe try it out for yourself. And
it seems like one of those things that you do need to have a bit of an outlay. You need to sit down, you need to make the list, blah, blah. But you get a lot back in terms of time saved, money saved.
Absolutely.
Not buying junk food accidentally. So that's going to help your health. So it really does pay for itself several times over.
Yeah. And I do want to make a point too. John said there too at the top of this. What's within your ability. Please don't be daunted by the list I've laid out, because I know that I get a little overboard. I don't like store-bought salad dressings. I don't like sauces from the store. So all of mine are laid out there, but don't let that be like, oh my God, look at that prep list.
Well,
I couldn't do that.
Even then, like that's where you gotta make your priorities is what's going to be like. If you're going to have Caesar salad and you've got romaine, put that on the list, like that's what you're going to need. I always like to think, like, I found this nice 6-step thing when going shopping and planning yourself. And it's like, take stock of what you have, first of all.
Yeah. First, that's the first thing I say in that little thing that we've got up there for people to download.
Take stock of what you have. See what you want. Make a map. And that's what I was just talking about. Do it as a map. Have it so you can see what you're wanting to create.
Yeah.
And it's really simple, like just a couple boxes and breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yeah.
Just pencil it in. You can write in there, going out for dinner on one night. Like it's that simple. Here's, focusing on fresh.
Yeah.
Packing some proteins.
Yeah.
And I like that to be like, I'm thinking about being flexible too, right? When you're going in there and you go into the grocery store and you're like, I'm going to have chicken and broccoli.
Yeah.
And then you get in there and broccoli is $50 for a head of broccoli. And you're like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And we laugh, but that could happen.
Yeah. Well, just the other day, I went in with the intent to pick up a couple of pork chops for my son. He likes pork chops. And then they had this beautiful pork shoulder and it was discounted. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I can make pulled pork and that's going to be 3 meals for us. Right. Instead of the pork chops you wanted, and it's going to be the same price. Mm-hmm. And I would like to mention too that seeing that thing on discount, you might say, I'm not going to get to that for 5 days. But if you have that battle plan, if you know what you're doing, and you say, you look at that and like, I can throw that in a pot tonight, and it's ready for tomorrow, and you can utilize that savings.
Oh, exactly, and that's it. Yeah, like as I was saying, so broccoli's expensive. Mm-hmm. Get an asparagus.
Yeah.
The vegetables interchangeable. Yeah. Even, pork.
Yeah.
A pork shoulder to a pork loin or a pork tenderloin. Like you can look around and have that flexibility. Don't go in there regimented, I think. Yeah. And it gives you a bit of chance to be creative too. I think that's a key point too.
Absolutely.
What was it? I better finish my steps before I get off thing.
Yeah, I love any 6 steps.
6 steps, yeah. So we got take stock, make a meal plan, focus on fresh, pack in some proteins, love leftovers.
Yes.
And that's what we're saying. Is leftovers don't have to be, I'm reheating this again.
Exactly.
No, leftovers can be, I'm taking this and churning this into this.
Yeah. So when we put things away at the end of a meal, we always make sure to put it away as component as possible so that we make sure that thing still has exceptional versatility rather than it's locked into being this with these other items.
Okay, well, quick
And the
side
last
step.
one, sorry, I got to get in. Plan ahead.
Yeah, plan ahead.
No, I'm done.
Well, that's, yeah.
What was the last one?
Plan ahead.
Plan ahead. Excellent. Underline that one. Quick sidestep.
Yeah.
What foods or dishes work better for several days and what don't?
Okay, well, I think John touched on it there. A key one would definitely be like roasting a chicken. You have so much you can do with that, I think. I don't know. Sometimes I will like roast. I find starting with a couple of sheets of roasted vegetables is a great start to my week because I can sort of flesh out my daughter's sandwiches. She's a vegetarian. I can quickly fortify a stock, a soup, a sauce. I can sort of reheat them as a side to something that I'm doing. So a sheet or two of roasted veg, it's the beginning of all the flavors of what I'm doing. Like a curry dish, like it can be just that. You're making your curry and a little rice and throw your roasted veg in and you're there. But yeah. I mean, those are some of the ones.
I think one of the things is you want to start with your raw products and get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Not get rid of them, but cook them off first. So that's you've got raw chicken, you've got raw beef, move through those things to the beginning of your week.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that, if Friday night after work is steak night,
mm-hmm.
then you prep for that, write that into your thing. I guess the whole thing too is, even if you're bringing in frozen food, is making that key decision when to pull it.
Yeah.
And that's what always kills me is because I forget to pull. In the restaurant, I'm bang on. I know I'm always pulling the night before.
We're currently recording in my house, and I don't know if you went into my kitchen and see that I'm thawing out quite a few chicken breasts right now because I may have forgotten to pull them.
Yeah, exactly. And trying to find a way to thaw it quicker, Anyways, trying to obey food safe and be on top of that stuff.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on having theme nights? Maybe you have a theme on a Friday and a Saturday. I know quite a few people who say that they have their own restaurant meal on a Saturday night,
right?
But that's their home restaurant meal, and they make it a certain way. And it's that little tradition, kind of the idea that they have a special night where they do things.
I'm not a big fan of it because there's too much out there I want to try and expose my kids to. There's just too much. So I couldn't have a recurring theme. But if anything, my recurring theme is that at least a couple nights a week we eat outside the box. So we try something new or something that maybe is not new to me, but I'm exposing them to.
There's a tradition.
So,
a new night, outside the box night.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really great.
That's a great one. I love taco night.
Yeah,
I could have taco night every second night.
Actually, if you ask my kids, it would be taco night. Then it would be what do they? They want tacos. They want noodles, and then they want pasta. Noodles to them is like an Asian, like a stir fry, something inspired from. And then they want a pasta. And if we just did those three things, they'd be happy. But I won't stand for that. Right. So. I think that's the key is that I'm able to do that because I've made a menu plan, right?
Yeah.
And I'm able to do that within a budget. I'm able to do that with keeping diversity and within my means. And I think it was something that got cut in the previous thing was just that I don't let it take up hours of my life. I do it while I'm doing other things.
Yeah.
So I have a prep list. Let's say it has 10 items on it that I want to do this week. That's not 10 dinners. That's just 10 items. Maybe there's sauces, maybe they're whatever. So I will, while I'm doing dishes, I've got something roasting in the oven. While I'm making dinner, I'm also in between steps, I'm making a sauce. So these things are getting done while I'm already there. I'm not giving up more time to be this organized. I'm just making sure I'm organized and using my time better. But yeah, that's meal planning to me. I don't know.
On top of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a complicated process. I mean, it's just taking a little bit of thought and being like, like some people have their traditions. They have to have the same breakfast every day.
And I think that's what this affords you, a little bit of creativity, right? You get to step outside that box. So
and find new favorites.
Exactly.
Perfect. Has anyone else got anything else?
I think that I've said my piece. I would love it if you would check out the template and the sort of the example that we've set out, and maybe you can let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to check that out because I do plan, but I plan around boring stuff like how much protein I'm having, and so I'm not actually trying new things, and I should, because it becomes boring and then you get tempted by junk food.
Exactly.
You go down that road, so you keep it interesting, then it becomes a tradition, and when you make it over and over again, you get more efficient, and suddenly you're in a good place.
I find that too, is that when you come to the fridge and you've been running around all day, and then you're like, you've got that simple thing in there that you can pull out and quickly eat. That's like, you're buying a processed food I'm talking about, not your own stuff, but like something. Whereas if you get into this routine and all of a sudden you open the fridge, you're like, oh, there's that nice salad I had last night, or there's that soup I made the other day, or there's the leftover chicken. I'm like, oh, I'll just throw that in.
Easy.
There's nothing more satisfying than instead of the kids opening up the fridge and saying, there's nothing to eat, even though the fridge is full. They're like, I don't know what to have as a snack. Can I have a little bit of all of this? Like,
right.
I love that.
Wow.
They're like, so that's always my aim.
Excellent. Well, fantastic. We've got through a lot there, and I actually have learned from that, even though we talked a little bit about what we were going to go over. But I mean, we talked about what you actually want to get from the food, and if you plan, you get to actually make that choice. What do I want from the food? From making several meals with one dish and saving time and saving money, going over the specifics. John's 6-step plan for planning. There's actually a thing you can follow along, and what with Darren's plan that he's put online, I think that's really, really good. And I think finally, the flexibility. So not being rigid, going in there, like you said, and getting the pork shoulder instead of the pork chop because it is on offer, and you'd be a fool not to go for something that's cheaper. And so planning it, but allowing a certain amount of flexibility in the menu at the same time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Excellent.
Great. If you know of anything that we haven't mentioned in terms of planning, we'd love to hear about it.
Exactly. Send us an email or a text or however you want to get in touch with us. And of course, you can always get us at Edible Valley at gmail.com, as well as ediblevalley.com. Wow, we're just everything edible.
We're everywhere.
Yeah.
Google us.
Okay, well, thanks, guys.
And then the other thing I wanted to go on about, because we have a bit of news, because I'm still coming up. I've got my cooking thing up at Clever Crow.
Yeah, you'll be able to catch the whole crew. We'll all be there.
We're all going to be up there recording it. So we still got to figure out how we're going to record this and how it's all going to come together. But I think it's going to be a fun event, and we're doing some classic Germanic dishes, let's call it. So
sure, yeah. And so a cooking lesson outside, guests at Clever Crow. You're going to be cooking. We're going to be recording. We're going to make a podcast out of it. It's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. And the other thing I'd like to bring up, which is good for all of us right now, and it goes a little bit against because we've taught you all how to do menu planning, but finally restaurants are open again.
Yeah. Fully open again.
So if this may be a little late and you're done with menu planning and just want to go out and eat, definitely go out and check all your local restaurants out.
Everybody's trying really hard to get back to the healthy, fun levels that,
and be patient with us at restaurants, because we've slimmed down to bare minimum, and we're just trying to get it back together and get people doing.
I mean, in the place I work in, we've gone from sort of 20 covers, because we've only had the garden, to looking at numbers up 160, 180. I mean, the kitchen is firing from all cylinders.
Yeah, you're literally 0 to 60 in days. That are just like...
Staff members have been used to 5-10 hours a week, and they're getting back into it. It's like relearning the profession again.
Right.
So do be kind to your service personnel, but do support them.
Yeah. They'd love to see you.
Yeah.
You're just getting back into it.
We're excited to have everyone back.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. So you've been listening to the Edible Valley podcast. My name is William. I am the producer.
I'm Chef Jonathan Fraser.
And your co-host, Darren.
And that wraps up another episode of the Edible Valley podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and a special thanks goes to the local businesses that help support our podcast. They make it possible for us to showcase your local food community. We'd love you to follow us on your preferred social media at Edible Valley, where you can check out our blog, find recipes and tips, behind the scenes, and of course keep a lookout for where we are going to turn up next in your Edible Valley. I'm delayed when I'm coming through.
Yeah, it's usually how it happens.
It's really annoying.
I know. There's not much. At least you sort of, yeah, it's like that millisecond off or whatever, just enough to make you feel stupid. And this has been an Edible Valley production.
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, ready again?